You're welcome back to Breakfast Central this brand new week. We're excited about how things have turned out. The weekend was quite interesting for Anambra. Congratulations to the people of Anambra on having elected their governorship candidate. It wasn't without hassles, though. We'll be speaking about the challenges that have faced the Anambra elections and what, if we're to go by the analysis, that would mean for Professor Josh Amupito, and if that's a yardstick for measuring his readiness for this office. You're welcome to Breakfast Central. I am Olive Emodi.
And I'm Bora. Welcome to Breakfast Central, the first day of a brand new week. And like Olive said, Anambra elections, which was described as the litmus test for the new INEC chair, has come and gone. We'll be examining that in detail, which some people have termed the litmus test. Then quite a lot of things happening around the country. There's still the threat of a U.S. invasion hanging over the clouds. We also have other issues to x-ray and discuss. So welcome to Breakfast Central, and yes, we're glad to be here. You know, Olive, I was going to tell a little, I was going to exaggerate, not a lie. I was going to say, you know, over the weekend when I was watching Breakfast Extra, I was so jealous that I was inching for us to go. But
because
I remember that there was no Breakfast Central, it was the ballot. That caught me red-handed. But
and you're not a liar, you don't tell such lies.
I don't tell such lies. So the essence of it is that I'm glad to be here.
We're glad to have you back. Okay, so now let's begin with Anambra elections. Congratulations to our brothers and sisters in Anambra State on being able to conduct their elections. Unfortunately, the numbers were not very exciting. They had barely 2.6 registered voters, 2.6 million registered voters in Anambra State, and they had 598,000 verified, 598,000 voters, but about 11,000 votes were cancelled. So 500 and something thousand.
Look at the discrepancy between registration and the numbers that voted. We need to do a lot. So
that's again sharing the voter apathy that exists. And what are the metrics by which we decide what has led to the voter apathy? It would be one, people not trusting the report at the polls. Two, people fearing for their lives in terms of violence and the insecurity challenges that come during elections. And these are the major issues we've had to see over the years. Complaints about vote buying, complaints about the irregularities at the polls. Even though last week when we spoke with our correspondent, one of the things that we heard and we applauded was the fact that they had dispatched materials earlier in the week. And I particularly remember Chukwuma on YouTube said, after this one that they've said they've dispatched materials early, on that day we will still hear that there was late registration because
logistical challenges.
That same thing happened. So Moko and Chukwuma are a prophet, because there are people who complained in certain centers that they got their materials late, and that these materials did not get in on time. So that's also delayed the verification process.
When we talk to our analysts, we ask if Professor Amupito passed this litmus test. Have you ever taken a litmus test before? I don't know why you're laughing.
You're back again.
You know, so many people said the elections were free and fair. It was good. Professor Soludo won.
Your INEC says it's free and fair.
Yes. Yes. A landslide. Because if you add the votes of all the opposition candidates, it won't even get to half of what Professor Soludo scored. But the only downside to this election is what the ADC described as cash and carry democracy and elections, which is it's an indictment, it's an unfortunate side to our democracy, and that will be the
I just wanted to mention the numbers again, just so we're clear, the exact numbers. So total registered voters in the state is 2,788,864, so we can say maybe roughly 2.8 million. Total accredited voters for the election which held over the weekend, 598,229. They also announced that total valid votes for the election were 584,054, while rejected votes stood at 11,244. Look at the numbers. Huge discrepancies.
The 11,000 rejected votes, is it that they were compromised and voting for two parties?
It may have been, yes, it may have been that.
Or lack of voter education, because 11,000 is quite...
It's a lot. There's several reasons why a vote may be invalidated. It might be that they thumb printed on the wrong line, or it was in between two boxes, so obviously you can't count that. Or there was a problem with the accreditation of the vote. I really can't say. But let's take a look at this video. We'll come back to discuss some more. At this video, you can see that people are giving cash, they're giving certain materials, which calls into question the integrity of the elections. Can we completely have an election free of vote buying, and lobbying of some sort behind the scenes? And why this comes into question again is, if you recall, at the ABGA campaigns, Governor Chukwuma Soludo had promised a number of the wards certain amount of money if their wards had won. And many had called this some form of enticing and inducement, which is criticized in our electoral laws. However, the question is, which party was behind this? Who was in charge of giving these people money? Why were they giving money? When will we get to the point where poverty will not be weaponized, where people will not be forced or given, certain amounts of money to buy their conscience? Because that's what is being done. But, let's share with you reactions to this. Or before then, let's get Governor Soludo's tweet, if we have Governor Chukwuma Soludo's tweet first. And yes, he says, "Thank you, Anambra. I can never express enough gratitude for your immense support on this jinx-breaking journey. Our promise remains firm and unwavering, and our resolve to fulfill it grows even stronger by the day. The destination is a livable and prosperous, smart megacity, a homeland we can all be proud to live in, learn, work, relax, and enjoy. On this, we are laser-focused and ready to shift into higher gear over the next 4 years. May Anambra continue to win," Chukwuma Soludo says. And there have been reactions on X. Let's see what Nigerians are saying about this.
Dazzling Admira says, "Vote or not, the outcome of elections in Nigeria is predetermined, a pointless exercise in futility," he says. Well, that's Dazzling's opinion.
There are more tweets. Let's see the other tweets. We've taken this one. Can we please put another tweet? Some people just go to the booth just to collect that money, Prince says. And then the next tweet. So ABC, the party they swore was hated in Anambra, pulled 99,445 votes, while Peter Obi's anointed candidate, George Moralu of Labour Party, scraped just 10,482 votes. 10,000 in Anambra, the supposed kingdom of their political saint. You see, shouting online doesn't build structure. Neither does emotional blackmail win elections. Even APC, the so-called villain, is more accepted in Obi's own state than the party involvement he tried to impose. Reality just humbled propaganda, Toby Matthew says. Nigerians, we're very funny people. You know what is going on is bad, but you made a video, took part in the act, and posted the video to condemn the same act you were part of. How did this video find its way to the internet? Question mark. Elder James says, ask this question. Let's take a look at more tweets. A number of people are a disgrace to Nigeria. They are so poor that I heard they are even buying their votes with half a cup of gari. I have never seen this level of poverty before. Not even in war-ravaged countries do we have this level of poverty. going to come back and respond to this person. But just to mention, you know, I don't think that it's a thing about Anambra people who put out that tweet. It's not about Anambra people. Anambra people are not poor. This happens everywhere. Vote buying is something we're still trying to deal with in our country. It happens everywhere. Lagos, Edo State, name the state. People sell their votes because whether we like it or not, we are a country that, unfortunately, is dealing with a huge number of multidimensionally poor people. And then the other tweet that really I found interesting was the one who tried to mock Kingsley Moghalu's outing, stating it's a thing of, oh, APC failed, but at least you failed more than me. And I don't know whether that was necessary or not. This is politics, right? And APGA has had a stronghold in Anambra State for years. Well, this year one wondered whether it was going to be able to reinstate itself as a force to be reckoned with in Anambra State, judging by how a number of people had reacted to the criticisms, you know, that they had leveled against the state, as well as the idea that the APGA leader, in this case the governor, had publicly shown support to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But let's move on to our next story. Benga? But let's get your thoughts before we move on.
I mean, we have a serious vote buying problem, but the law clearly states that it's wrong and it's in violation of the Electoral Act, but enforcement is lax, and that's why people get away with this. A few arrests were made yesterday by the EFCC, on Saturday rather, by the EFCC, but it doesn't seem to be enough, and people still always get away with this. So we need to tighten, I mean, law enforcement needs to do better. We need the National Orientation Agency to also educate the people that, look, you can't mortgage your But let's move on to our next story. This is quite an interesting one.
But we must mention that it's on the backdrop of the pushback against the alleged potential invasion of Donald Trump, starting from the protests that we have seen in the north, people kicking against the potential of Donald Trump invading Nigeria. So there's been protests on the one hand, but then you can go ahead.
And then, I mean, as part of a protest, and this Nigerian in his magnanimity decided to share some expo with the would-be invaders. God forbid they invade, and is giving a note of warning, maybe not as a threat, a brotherly advice that, please, dear American soldiers, if you invade our country, our mosquitoes are not nice. And if you remember the explorers of old, the Stanleys and Livingston, Africa used to be known as the graveyard of the white man because of tropical diseases like malaria. Mosquitoes. They just couldn't deal with it. So this Nigerian citizen, law-abiding, upright Nigerian citizen, a very patriotic Nigerian citizen, you can see his friend on the left-hand side with the infinity cap, said, Americans, they're American soldiers, if you come, our mosquitoes, our patriotic mosquitoes will unleash on you, and you might not like the outcome. So in case you get orders to come to Nigeria, don't come. I mean, if you're not scared of the people or the army, at least be scared of the mosquitoes.
All right, let's take a look at it.
Mr. Donald Trump, let me be aware that Nigeria is not Vietnam. Nigeria is not Afghanistan. Nigeria is not Iraq. Nigeria is not Iran. Nigeria is not Venezuela. If you attempt to encourage and make aggression and send your armed forces to Nigeria to wage war, it's an unscrupulousness. But be aware that our mosquitoes, they are waiting for your soldiers to bite them and infect them with malaria fever instantly.
I mean, this is not a laughing matter. It's a very serious matter, and the U.S. Army should beware. But on a serious note, I mean, for someone, I need to applaud his geopolitics, because he does know where the American empire has been stretching its tentacles. He talked about Libya Afghanistan, places they've been to and invaded in the course of the last 50, 60 years in history. He also spoke about Vietnam and said, look, Nigeria is, you can't compare Nigeria to all these places. In everything, we have our mosquitoes and they will unleash on your troops. So please be aware.
Well, that's a very, that's a war strategy, especially because, you know, there are parts of the world that mosquito isn't able to thrive in. Mosquitoes aren't found there. And like you mentioned earlier, certain people are predisposed to handling mosquito attacks better than others.
Oh, yes.
Interestingly, Iceland just discovered mosquito for the first time, especially because Iceland is warming up much more than usual due to the global climate crisis.
It's a very temperate region, so why mosquitoes are not meant to thrive in that?
Because this year, Iceland has been, I think, 4 times hotter than it typically
Temperatures
has. So we're seeing the effects of climate change. So it's surprising, like how the mosquito festival was able to get there, and you know it has been found there. And we don't know if this is the start of something. Hopefully not.
And talking about climate change, I think COP33, if I'm not mistaken, just ended in Brazil. Nigeria's vice president was there to discuss climate change. But it seems all this talk about climate change is, it's almost like a talk shop. We hardly see enforcement. But, I mean, we shouldn't lose hope and despair. Hopefully world leaders and industrialists and those responsible for pollutions will be better world citizens and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. But let's take reactions from X with regards to the Nigerian telling American soldiers that please beware of our mosquitoes. Pascal says, again, why am I forced to be in the same country with someone like this? We don't look alike, don't think, speak, eat, or worship alike. We don't even have the same worldview. So what's the point of this one Nigeria theme? Who benefits from this retrogressive union? Well, that's Pascal's opinion. Moving on to the next tweet. Let's see what we have. Low's partner says, funny of you to think he's literally meaning mosquitoes. If they tell you American Navy SEALs will deflect an attack, do they mean literal SEALs, or is it Operation Python Dance in Nigeria involving real snakes? He knows what he's saying, even though his threat is empty. D. Blaze says, I see Nigeria changing in only 200 years from now, because with the amount of SAR mentality freaks in its existence, we should just forget about the Nigeria of our dreams. It can be achieved by this generation. Well, D. Blaze, speak for yourself.
Well, do we have any more tweets? Yeah,
Brownie Boy says, Nigerian government can not even deny their complicity, especially when you have people speaking about the topic in this manner in close proximity with others wearing clothes with the President Tinubu's insignia on them. So he's insinuating that they're sponsored protests. Woman of Zion says, please, my question is, why is the North so triggered about this? Who America is coming to fight terrorists in Nigeria? Is there something they're not telling us? Says Woman of Zion. And that's all we have on what Nigerians are saying with regards to the American, the alleged invasion of America and the threat of mosquitoes by that young man, telling them that, look, if you come to Nigeria, Nigerian mosquitoes will unleash on you and you will not like the outcome. Okay, moving on to our next wake-up conversation. This is heartbreaking, and this is what football is called the beautiful game for a reason. Yes.
So the problem with this story, and that's a bit of a concern that I have, is, you know, there was a report at first, but that report seems to have been debunked by other news sources about the potential of a Katsina fan's throat, a Katsina fan slashing the throat of the player, right? And this news has come out to be debunked by Premium Times and a number of other media houses. So if you look,
that's good news then.
Well, it's great news. So it says the club spokesperson, Nasiru Gide, spokesperson for Katsina United, also debunked the slit throat claim. What he condemned it as false and misleading media reports about the incident. He said, and I quote, "At no point during the match did any supporter gain access to the pitch. The publication suggesting a player was slaughtered is entirely false. Such misinformation damages the club's image and the progress of football in Katsina State, and the club has said that they will seek legal redress if the reports were not retracted, while calling on the league management body to investigate the match and review the officiating process. Now, this, of course, is not the first time we've had, and why that story may have, picked up wings and flown as much as it did over the course of the weekend is because this is not the first time that we've seen incidences of violence, post-match violence. We talked about one recently in the past few weeks. We've seen it happen, in Kano, in Ibadan, where the irate fans would jump into the stadium and try to attack the players.
And influence the outcome of the game.
Exactly.
Which is, it defeats the spirit of sportsmanship.
Completely
very, very unfortunate. But we're glad that news has been debunked, and it's not true, because it would have been very, very unfortunate. But one big news that happened yesterday that hasn't been debunked is the sad story of the disruption at the management of the Museum for West African Art yesterday. It's cancelled its opening till further notice after suspected thugs invaded its premises on Sunday and chased away foreign journalists, diplomats and tourists that attended the museum's preview event. The protesters targeted the new multi-million-dollar museum in Nigeria and forced organizers to halt preview event ahead of Tuesday's grand opening. The Ministry of Tourism, of Culture and Tourism, also issued a statement with regards to that.
All right, let's now move on from that to talk about the fight against insecurity. We are operating and employing all sorts of measures, kinetic, non-kinetic, and maybe the non-kinetic will also involve spiritual. Kebbi State government holds special prayers to drive out bandits. Basically, we hear the reports that there were Christians and there were Muslims, that had attended these prayers and, prayed for the, prayed against insecurity and the challenges against insecurity. The state government held an interfaith special prayer for peace, November 2025. That event is symbolically important, they would say, and aimed at unity, but it sits alongside active security operations. So the question is, are we just praying? Are we acting? And typically when we hear stories like this, there's always criticism. And I won't pretend like I haven't been one to criticize the government in time past, to say, why are you praying? Act. But I would say that people need to do whatever they can. Prayers and action can go hand in hand.
All sorts of, it's faith.
Exactly.
And it's harmless. So if you can pray and...
The only time that would be a problem is if, as a government, rather than acting or being proactive, all you're doing is pray. That is where there will be a problem. Because even the Holy Book says faith without works is dead. So it's a combined effort.
Combine both of them.
All right, but I know that Nigerians typically, when they hear stories like this, they're very upset about it. So let's go on X and hear what Nigerians are saying about Kebbi State interfaith prayer, Kebbi State government's interfaith prayer against insecurity. I knew it. Prayers don't drive out bandits and terrorists. Take action and stop playing politics with the life of your people, she says. Let's take a few more tweets.
It's trying to say, take action and use pump action against terrorists and bandits. Energy Doctor says, the way we abuse spiritualism in Nigeria is alarming. A situation that demands instant security forces actions is being joked with. There was indeed a country, says Energy Doctor. Let's see the next tweet from Steve Owabuko. It says, after the prayers, I hope the governor of Kebbi State will not divert security votes to his Dubai bank account. Why pray when you claim security votes is for fighting insecurity? Interesting take there from Steve. And that's all we have. Like all have said, prayers and works. So give the security forces the necessary support they need to tackle this banditry and terrorism, and also you could back it up with prayers, but just praying alone, God is not going to come down and fix our problems for us. It's giving us the necessary brains and everything we need to deal with our issues. Okay.
All right. Let's now move to something that has been a big issue of contention, especially in social media space in the past weeks here in Lagos, Nigeria. The senator representing Delta North Senatorial District, Senator Ned Nwoko, has been in the news not for his legislative prowess, but for the incidents regarding his marriage. There's been confrontations and arguments back and forth between him and his wife, actor Regina Daniels. Now, his brother or his brother-in-law has also been in the mix, Sammy, and there have been allegations about Senator Ned Nwoko using the police to wrongfully arrest his brother-in-law and throw him in jail. Her family, Regina Daniels and her family, have accused him of being involved in that. He, on the other hand, has accused her of being violent, being what's the word?
Drug user.
A drug user, an abuser, and has also named names of other people involved. He named the likes of Uche Montana and a number of people who he claims have influenced her or support her use of drugs. He claims that she was made to be or asked to be in rehab, and part of the process was being cut away from the people who have encouraged her. Now, he says here, these videos show Sammy, Regina's brother, repeatedly coming to my home and harassing my children and domestic staff, especially whenever I was not around. His visits were often aggressive and disruptive. This is someone I sponsored through his last 2 years at the University of Ekpoma. I bought his musical instruments, rented and furnished a flat for him in Abuja, in addition to the house I bought for Regina in Asaba before our marriage for the use of all of them. I also routinely provided allowances to all members of the family, including her mother, Rita Daniel. Indeed, in the last 2 years, I have a record of transferring 125 million naira to her alone. When Regina started her rehabilitation, there was a clear instruction by the doctors to strictly restrict people, especially her enablers, from having access to her. The therapy was arranged after I noticed troubling changes in her behavior linked to her dependence on certain illegal substances, including going for 48 hours without sleeping and eating every 2 hours. Unfortunately, Sammy, Destiny, some of their siblings, okay, I think we've missed that there. Can we please go back to the former page? Where, yes, unfortunately, we apologize for that. Sammy, Destiny, yes, some of their siblings, together with a few of their friends, notably Sonia, Uche, Montana, all among others, constantly defy those instructions. They will come into the house uninvited, sometimes forcing their way in, and will bring her the same drugs she was being treated for. Instead of helping her recover, they encourage her addiction and completely frustrated the efforts of the doctors and the therapists working with her. This was, part of the message he had sent. There were other tweets, this is a whole long tweet and continuation, but I'm not going to go into the details of this. Let's play a video clip. He attached a video to this caption, and this is the video. While we're, okay, there, this, and in the video you can probably.
Display what I go display for you. I go feel that.
So I'm not quite sure what that video was attempting to show. All we could see was her brother saying, if they hold her or stop her next time, they will see him display action. I'm not sure what exactly the video proves. But let's look at Regina Daniel's post as well. Regina Daniel had gone on a rant. She said, Ned, how could you lie so openly and without even small remorse? You know my family has absolutely nothing to do with this. You have always tried to cut them off because of the bond we share, and now you are trying to make them look bad for no reason. Fine, I did drugs, so what? Is that even the issue between us? The moment we had a fight, you rushed to the public shouting drugs, 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 because you knew it would make a perfect story for the media, something dramatic enough to distract everyone from the real issue. You want to find a reason to arrest everyone around me so that I will have no one left beside me, no friend, no support, no safe place to turn to. Then when I'm completely isolated and broken, I'll be forced to come back to you because I'll have nowhere else to go, she says. She says that has always been a strategy. Break people down, make them weak and powerless, and then have your way with them. But guess what? It's not going to work this time. Not anymore. You say you want me to go for rehab. but you're the same Ned who always wanted me high, because in your words, I'm sexier when I'm high. You like me that way because it made me wild and romantic, exactly how you wanted me to be. Why don't you also tell them how you force yourself on me whenever I say no? Why don't you tell them how you lock me up, seize my phones, and suddenly declare me mentally unstable the moment I say I no longer want to be in this relationship? But once I change my mind just to get out of that locked room, suddenly I'm fine again. I'm no longer mentally unstable and apparently not in need of rehab anymore. Oof. Why don't you? Oh, wow. These are such strong allegations, right? But these are what Regina Daniels has said. Both parties have made really strong allegations against each other, and it keeps getting messy. There's also one clip that we don't have here. I would have called for it. But it was a clip that her brother Sammy posted that had a conversation between him, allegedly between him and Senator Ned Nwoko, where he was saying to him, you've lived in the UK for years. There's no way you can go there and tell them that you slap your wife twice. He said, I will do it. If my wife, misbehaves, something like that, and the call cuts there. The drama keeps getting messy. I
mean, it's very messy, and the fact that it involves a sitting senator of the Federal Republic, these are very serious allegations that she's raised. And it's even sad that it's in the public domain. Because, I mean, all families have challenges here or there, or marital issues, but it doesn't mean it should be public. It should be made known to the public. Like they say, there are three sides to a story. Her side, his side, and the truth. And I really wish them well, because it's not good. I can imagine the emotional torture, the trauma all parties are going through, and especially the young children that have nothing to do with all of this. I hope they'll find an amicable way to deal with it, and those who need healing will be catered for. The only other thing to mention would be that there have been really strong allegations made. They've accused him of using the police to arrest her brother, and that should be investigated. If it's true, then no sitting senator should have the power to be able to use the police, and the police also would have questions to answer. So that, and the fact that he's still a member, a sitting senator, and if these strong allegations are out there, the senator has a responsibility to speak on this as well, because it's no longer just a family matter. It's the reputation of the reputation of the Senate that is being brought to disrepute, and that needs to be investigated. And also, we need to do something about the casual drug culture, because people talk about it with such casualness. So I did drugs, so what? It's a very serious issue. But then the flip side, she then says, oh, but you wanted me to take drugs. How did he? There was also the question of how she got introduced to drugs, because she got married really young. But that's a conversation for another day. Really sad there. Let's share with you what the headlines this morning are on Breakfast Central. The top stories: Northern Nigeria protests President Trump's invasion plan. You can see, wow. INEC declares Governor Soludo winner of Anambra governorship poll. He wins his second term. Opposition kicks, saying the result is not a reflection of people's wishes. We've seen the statement even by Prince Nicholas Ukachukwu. Adolescent girls campaign for end to gender-based violence. Such a shame that they have to be campaigning these in 2025. And now the newspaper front pages will be brought to you much later. Stay with us. You're welcome back to Breakfast Central. The United Kingdom Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office has advised against travel to multiple Nigerian states because of increase in kidnapping, violent crime and intercommunal violence noted in these places. This comes barely less than a week since the U.S. administration designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern under the International Religious Freedom Act, a move tied to allegations of severe violations against religious groups. Join us this morning on Breakfast Central for reactions to this development. Is a certified human rights consultant, a U.S. Institute of Diplomacy and Human Rights Ambassador Okhidevbie Oamien. Welcome to you, sir. Thanks for joining us on Breakfast Central.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure.
Now, what do you make of this travel advisory that has been issued to UK citizens for several states in Nigeria? Is there a cause for alarm? Are they seeing things that we aren't seeing as a country? And what's your general overview?
You know, most times when we come on air, we talk about insecurity, insecurity, insecurity. At the end of the narratives, we ask ourselves, what are the security advantages, which looks like solutions? And that part is not hyped. You know, the next time again you are coming on air, you are back to insecurity, whilst the solution was hyped coldly. Now, if you look at the narratives from the global countries, they are playing their role. They have interest in outer countries. They have interest in international travels. They have interest in international economics. They have interest in international sales of weaponry, investigation, and relevance and dominance. So when the whole countries of the West, Europe, America, and everybody, Russia, China, they are playing their global interplay, who are the pawns? The little countries that allow themselves to be used as the pawns. So when they bring such narratives and they say don't travel to Nigeria, do you know that if you go to those places, check Air Peace, check Asman, check all the flights that goes to those areas, you will still see foreign nationals traveling to those places. Now, are there security challenges in those places? Yes, they are. Okay, but are they escalated to that point where they are? Yes, they are. But are there interplays from those their narratives to collaborate with our narratives to solve those security challenges? That's the question.
I mean, but we're an independent country, and the onus is on us to fix home and also fix the security challenges. So it's not necessarily their business. They're just looking out for the interests of their citizens and warning them that, you know, this places are red zones. Please avoid travel that is not necessary to these places. So, yeah, one would think, you know, it's...
No, it's you know, each citizen of a foreign country in another country, especially those that are working with embassies or international oil and gas companies or whatever, financial institutions, they have insurance, you know, and those insurance are bottled towards the risk parameters that they are exposed to, okay, and these narratives needs to follow. But you made a mention of an independent country. You know, are you sure Nigeria is an independent country? Because if you talk about independence...
Independent and sovereign.
Yeah, because we had opportunities to gas in on our independence. ECOWAS, AU, non-existent. Even when this new president came on board, AU and ECOWAS were things being shouted about to handpick and strangulate the military incursions in some African countries. Now, all those things were killed now. Okay, where's ECOWAS? Where's AU? Now, coming down to African nations, if you are independent and sovereign, why is it that your financial resources, your currency is based on the exchange rate of another country currency? Why is it that you need loans all the time? Each regime that comes is begging the World Bank, begging Western countries, agencies of aid to come to your rescue, begging Western countries militia to come to your rescue, begging Western countries for military equipment which your citizens already manufacture locally, is just to synchronize the expertise in it. You know, so when you talk about independence, it's only on paper. It's not on the execution of democratic governments in Africa.
Okay, so now the question is, what reputational damage does this travel advisory do? You know, and for the foreigners who are here, how seriously do you think they're taking this travel advisory?
Reputational damage is expected when you don't have defensive measures put in place for your reputation. We have the Ministry of Orientation, Public Information. Have you heard them speaking? We have spokespersons for government. Do they speak before the foreign nationals speak? Do they speak in collaboration? Then you have ambassadors in all of these countries in the world. Which of the country ambassador Nigeria has that you've seen that have done an interchange of communication that have raised our public image and has brought up possible, arguable, sensitive positioning for the country to be seen as a very intelligent country positioned to communicate with all of these international issues? We don't have any ambassador anywhere that have stood up to be present in any event in the US, any event in the UK, called to speak in any international organization on the part of the country, called to defend narratives that bring down our national image. We don't have any. The National Orientation Agency does not communicate jack. Now we have private security practitioners. So many private security practitioners, they went to start their own communication agencies to tell you where and where not to travel to, what risk parameters, death rate, and all that. Who patronizes or supports them? Who listens to them in Africa? None. But one journalist from one foreign country, not even as educated as you are, just jumps up and says, hey, don't travel to Abuja, and it's becoming news.
Now, the United Kingdom listed multiple states as high risk for kidnapping and violent crimes. The US also issued a CPC designation citing large religious freedom violations. You said we don't have ambassadors that should have been interfacing, you know, and also countering some of this narratives and speaking from a position of strength for Nigeria. But unfortunately, more than 2 years into this administration, ambassadors are yet to be appointed. But Ambassador Yusuf Tuga, the foreign minister, has been, you know, doing diplomatic rounds, but it doesn't seem to be enough. Away from that, if you could advise the president, because he also needs to reassure Nigerians that are living in Nigeria, we need to be secured for ourselves, not because of external factors. The life and properties of Nigerians is also very important. Looking at where we are today as a nation and limitations, how would you advise the federal government to address this issue? Because it will definitely have an impact on tourism, investor confidence, and what have you. What steps should they take now that the United Kingdom, and it also has a copycat effect. Once the United Kingdom issues a travel advisory, other EU countries and maybe possibly America would also do the same.
Okay, thank you very much. See, now I did something about international relations and politics in my MSc, okay? And I usually tell people, I said, every government, especially a new entrance, like a new president, you know, they have two platforms that they need relevance. One, within the country, he needs to be relevant to all stakeholders. When I say stakeholders, I mean those that handle democratic intercommunication. You can be a Muslim, you can be a Christian, you can be North, South, East. Those times, they don't talk about, are you a Muslim, are you a Christian, are you Igbo, are you Yoruba? No, they just decide about the economics of the country. Oil resources, mineral resources, who gets what placement, and how many people can you give me for my panelist? And okay, so when you look at outward, you look at a president that is supposed to be relevant in global platforms, the United Nations, the World Bank, where you can make some voice, AU, ECOWAS. No. When President Trump came on board, you saw what he started to do. He started to do within, he's deploying military to some states, even in America, saying that those states have insecurity problems. Nobody heard about that. None of your ambassadors, in quote and unquote, visited those states to say, really, you have insecurity and try to hype it.
Or give travel advice.
You get my point. How many Nigerians were told not to travel to those states where President Trump sent military to? Military, U.S. military.
National Guard. Yes.
Now, look at our opportunity that we lost when the president came on board, AU and ECOWAS. What happened to them? You know, so if you have strengthened our own African global platforms, where all presidents can come together, put their might together, and begin to challenge certain narratives that downplay our relevance, then you already have the international platforms that are active. Now, we were made the president of ECOWAS, Nigeria. What happened next? It all went down, and no results possible. We threatened to invade those African countries. We threatened them of invasion, and we didn't even achieve that. Distractions left, right, and center, and there are no constitutional, institutional strengthening. Every of our institutions have lost their relevance because there is the influence of negative influence of political activities. And the political activities itself always pushes the downline of religion, tribe, and all of those things that Nigerians begin to hit their heads together while certain persons sit down and decide who gets what.
All right. So now, looking at what is on ground, you know, there's a travel advisory, there's a reputation. How would you say we should find that balance between reporting what is, you know, true and being able to say that you don't want to heighten or hitting up, yeah, exactly, or cause alarm? Because while you say on the one hand that when we come on air, we are always discussing insecurity, but is there an insecurity challenge? Yes, there is. So how do we find that fine balance between reporting what's actually the truth, discussing what the truth is, and also not causing some form of panic that may be interpreted as giving us a bad reputation?
You see, one thing that we need is institutional strength. Now, you need a policing system that can detect immediately when certain activities are going against the security architecture or structure of any community. Gathering of people, activities, nocturnal activities, incident reporting, citizenry trust. Now, one of my staff said she entered one chance in Lagos, and they took this and took that from her. I asked her a simple question. Did you report it to the police? The answer was no. And I had to insist that it's reported. The policing system must generate all of those triangles and begin to attack it. Now, when the police finally get hold of the criminal, they communicate that criminal into the criminal justice system. One, he's called a suspect. He's taken before a judiciary. The judicial process must make him a criminal by using the evidence against him to sentence him through a criminal process. And those sentences begin to put labels on Nigerian citizens who have gone through criminal justice system, criminal processes. Don't create windows like de-radicalization, amnesty, plea bargain for people that take away resources.
Non-kinetic measures to deal with insecurity.
I don't like grammars. Kinetic, non-kinetic, all your generals have been saying it, all the CDS have been saying it, all the national security advisors have been saying it.
Amnesty and, I mean, let me
tell you something, sir.
As long as it doesn't
non-kinetic is when you don't, yes. So where is there no direct shooting? Direct shooting is...
When you rehabilitate them.
What do you rehabilitate? Okay, look, listen. When you rehabilitate people, are they having insanity challenges? They were included into a criminal process and they accepted so. In the process of 10 months, they have killed over 200 people and destabilized the country. And that same person didn't have the time to come to you and say, sir, I'm doing this thing against my will. They radicalize me. I need you to help me. Then you tell him, show me the people. And he showed them to you. And you go in and get them in and bring them before the law. What is stopping the activities of our criminal justice system? What is stopping us from sentencing criminals? What is stopping us from addressing a crime as it is? Murder is murder, rape is rape, arson is arson, abduction is abduction. Nobody should ask you, are you Musa, are you Emeka, or are you Yetunde? You are a criminal. These are the evidence before us. This is the penalty for your crime. That is the solution. If you begin to go into the narrative of let's try kinetic, non-kinetic, and those people say they are oppressed in the Niger Delta, so they kidnap some white people. It's kidnapping. In the north, those people said that they were forced into this and they killed some villagers, they burned some farms, they killed the farmers. It's murder.
And arson.
You go for the crime. When you begin to bring in narratives, then you are allowing political interest to divert your attention from delivering governance to the people that voted into power.
And it's almost a reward for bad behavior also. Yeah, so.
Yeah, and some people can interpret it as, first of all, is it truly justice if the people who have had the short end of the stick do not get justice? Imagine somebody being a part of a community, having lost family members due to the hand of a terrorist. This terrorist is arrested, and then they say they are de-radicalizing the person, reintegrating the person back into the society. So just in some measure,
the victims are still dealing with
the grief, and sometimes what really again is justice. I always ask that on the show. What is justice if it doesn't consider the offender, the offended, and then the state? Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
No, so that's why I was even telling you, a good government, as my closing remark, when you come on power, I'm praying for it, and I'm sure it will happen someday. Just help us and go back 5 years. Don't go too far. Back 5 years, pick out all the cases, revive all the judicial system, and insist that those persons go for that judgment and bring the victims to be in court when those sentences are being made, and let them be known that they went through the process of, is it a death sentence, is it life imprisonment? Let the victims know, then interview the victims, bring them here to News Central, and the victim is saying, I am compensated to a large extent that I am seeing justice. Muslim, Christian, Yoruba, Hausa, or Igbo. The country will begin to move towards excellence, and the world will see us as we are.
And on that note, we wrap up this segment. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. To our virtual audience, let us know what your thoughts are about the suggestions that he has just made. Let's now share with you what's coming up next on Breakfast Central. Coming up next, INEC declares Governor Chukwuma Soludo the governor as he's won the second term. Anambra election aftermath, what the numbers are saying and what the opposition is saying as well. Talented young Nigerian delivers artwork. We're bringing you that report in a moment. Welcome back. As the holiday season approaches, South Africa comes alive with color, from beach escapes and wine festivals to vibrant city celebrations. So what are you looking for? Luxury, adventure? That one excites me. Or a fun family getaway? South Africa offers it all with travel options that are easy for Nigerians to plan and enjoy. Today, we're joined by Omotoyasi Otemoye, who's the group head of Quantum Holidays Nigeria, to explore why South Africa remains one of the most exciting festive destinations for Nigerians. Thank you very much, Omotoyasi, for joining us.
Thank you, Olise.
Good morning. Thank you so much.
And happy holidays in advance. Already in holiday mood, see me wearing red.
I can see that. Merry Christmas.
Okay. So I remember a few months ago, I was saying that I wanted to go somewhere. I put a poll on my story asking people to select or to suggest a country. I put a question tag. And the most suggestions I got was, people were saying, if you haven't been to Cape Town, visit Cape Town, go to Cape Town, South Africa. So why? Why is South Africa what's so exciting about South Africa?
So I would say that, like I usually tell people, I think on the 7th day that God rested was when he created Cape Town. Because what's waking up to see the Table Mountain, the view is magnificent. the bars at the waterfall, the live band, like you're going shopping, but at the same time, you are experiencing fun, dance, even restaurants. And then at the waterfront, you're seeing the Robben Island on the extreme. It's so beautiful. And then you see the clouds settling on the Table Mountain. It's called the tablecloth. You know, it's just amazing. It's unexplainable. Durban also for the beaches, the jazz in Joburg. Of course, Joburg is the Lagos of South Africa, but I think South Africa should be on everybody's bucket list. Anybody that loves adventure, anybody that loves to travel, I believe you should visit South Africa, even if it's just for a week.
You put me now, see the way I'm
you've painted this beautiful picture of Cape Town, Joburg, and how South Africa should be on everybody's bucket list and travel list. But the big question is, how do we get there? And also, you're looking at the economy. So what travel packages and what exciting festive packages are currently available for Nigerians if they want to travel this December?
Yeah, so currently we have the Christmas package to South Africa where kids stay free. So, you
kids
know,
do what?
Stay free.
Okay.
When you
So
say kids,
children below 12.
I'm a child of
Oh my God, you're a child of
You can help me on the children.
Oh my goodness. So we have Christmas packages where kids stay free at the moment. And it's from the 22nd to the 28th of December, where it's, of course, hotel accommodation, airport transfers, daily breakfast, the city tour of South Africa. And, you know, because of the festive season, this is the summer of South Africa, right? Even though South Africa can have 4 seasons in a day. You can just wake up and everywhere is sunny and you're all in your spaghetti, like, okay, let me just go take content. And then you get on the road and everywhere just changes.
Reminds me of London.
So, but this period is summer, and this is when a lot of people, even foreigners, actually go to South Africa. They either visit Durban, Cape Town, or even Johannesburg, but most especially Cape Town, because that's where it's bustling. That's the fun place. That's where you find the clubs, you find the handsome men and women, you know, and then you get to experience some things at no cost. You can stay in a hotel where they transfer you to the waterfall at no charge. There's a time into it, you book your time.
You can help us get all the deals.
Yes, and this is the best time actually, because of course, visa application, it takes a few days, like a few weeks
do you
process.
Handle that?
Oh yes, we handle it. It's a one-stop shop from start to finish.
You take away everyone's problems, airport transfer, everything.
Exactly. So just to confirm, you handle the procurement of visa, the flight tickets, the return flight ticket, hotel accommodation, airport transfer, and tours.
Absolutely.
And then is there provision for food, maybe like breakfast?
Oh yeah, your accommodation comes with daily breakfast.
Right.
It's standard. Other meals you have to pay for it, or you just use the opportunity to explore. You need to taste their fish and chips.
Okay. So for first timers who are visiting South Africa for the first time, what would you say to them? Like, what are some of the things they should take note of? Because there are those, for example, who have passports that have never been out of the country, and this may be an opportunity for them. Is there a possibility of them getting the visa, and you know, what do they need to take note of?
Okay, well, it depends on sometimes your documentation, how you present it, and most especially that's why we are here as store consultant to guide you on how to go about your documentation, ensuring that you are proving to the consular that you have strong ties in Nigeria. That you are not just going to go there and then just abscond, and you are going to have fun. You are going to spend money in their country and then go back.
So for Nigerians that are planning this festive trip, you know, what key travel tips would you share with them?
Okay, firstly, I would say that, like I rightly said, South Africa should be on your bucket list, so go to South Africa. That's tick number 1. Okay. Then secondly, ensure you have strong ties back home, you have a good paying job as proof that you are that you are coming back home. Secondly, one thing South Africa doesn't joke with is yellow fever card. They do not joke with it. So if you apply for your visa and you do not present your yellow fever copy of it, you will not, in fact, they will tell you that's the reason why your visa was rejected. If you even present your yellow fever card at the point of application and you travel and then you forget your yellow fever card, you'll be sent back.
No, I don't even make that mistake. My yellow fever card is literally
it's actually very important. Yes. As small as that document is, it is very, very important for South Africa. Very important.
When you talk about South Africa, a lot of Nigerians, what comes to their mind is Amampiano, you know, and Table Mountain.
Right.
Are there other hidden gems in South Africa? What other activities can people do? Because the older people won't really like that nightclub for the laid-back people.
When you say older people, bring the
60s, 70s. Yes.
Right. Okay. So they have what's it called? The Robben Island in Cape Town.
That was where
Mandela was. So when you get to the waterfall, you will be seeing the island across, the very small island. So there's a jetty that will take you there, and then you feel the history of the country. Is actually emotional. They take it very personal.
I can imagine.
In fact, even on the city tour, you could feel the emotions when the tour guide is talking to you about the sacrifice Nelson Mandela, you know. So
what
the
about
Island
safaris?
The Aqua Safari.
She's a big fan of animals.
Oh my goodness! It's so the Aqua Safari is located 1 hour 30 minutes away from Cape Town.
Okay.
It's a long drive. However, you get to see the big five. And when I mean the big five, you get to see them live, healthy looking. You get to feel their story. In fact, I got to understand.
It's not scary.
It's not scary.
It's exciting.
So let me tell you the supposed scary part when we went into the lion's den, right?
Is your name Daniela?
Yeah, yes, my name is Daniela. We went into the lion's den and then they shut the gates because at that time they are used to a certain sound from the vehicle.
Okay.
If it goes off, they'll suspect that there's a visitor around. So you get to see the lion and the lioness chilling, even by the gate, moving close to the cart, to the safari vehicle, and just to be sure that are these people part of us or not, but you just have to stay calm till you leave. It was an experience. In fact, Benga, thank you for saying that, because when I went and came out, I put it on my story. I survived. Call me Daniela.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you know the first time I saw a lion, I went to a safari.
Healthy and beautiful, good-looking animals. A zebra.
I had gone on a holiday in another African country, and I remember from a distance, I had binoculars, and I saw the lion's eyes. And I felt like it was looking into my soul. I said, guys, let's go. Because it's so intimidating, but extremely beautiful.
There's another tour, which is the wine tasting tour.
Right.
Oh my God, in Stellenbosch. Oh my goodness. So you get to taste 5 wines.
At the wine estate.
At the the winery. There's so many in Stellenbosch. In fact, by the time you're driving into Stellenbosch, you'll be seeing different wines and all of that. And then the wine tasting, different flavors, and then different chocolates that complement the wine. Oh my goodness. It was so, you know when you're drinking directly from the winery.
The sauce.
The everything.
If you're watching this interview and you're not already longing for something, you don't know what it is that you're doing. But let's talk about, just to reiterate, what packages are available. I know you've mentioned what the packages cover.
Right.
What are the packages that are available?
Okay, right now, because it's the festive season, it's just the Christmas packages, and we have that through till the 15th. We're extending it to the 15th
of December, January,
of November, because we had a deadline to it because of visa application. So we had a deadline to it. So we are moving it a bit so that we can accommodate more people, and then we can, apply for the visa as a group in partnership with South African Tourism Board, and then we have our people enjoy and experience all of these things. Okay,
so there's a group trip.
Yeah.
What of those who don't want to go with a group that want to have maybe personal solo trips or a family trip? Is that possible?
Yeah, we offer bespoke services. Yes, we work with travel dates that suit your travel plan. It's not a problem. We'll just look at the dates and ensure that it's eligible for application, because of course there are time frames to these visa applications.
So how are interested people that are watching us now, how do they book and go about it?
Okay, yes, so they can actually go to the website, www.southafrica.net. We have our packages there in collaboration with South African Tourism Board. You can also visit our website, www.quantumtravelsng.com. They can also send us an email. We're ready to assist. We have the holidays at...
What's your email?
holidays@quantumtravels.ng. holidays@quantumtravelsng.com. Okay. And we also have visas at quantumtravelsng.com. They can communicate with us via any of those channels, or even follow us on Instagram, quantumholidays_. We constantly put our packages from time to time and ensure that our customers are updated.
In fact, when this interview ends, me and you have a conversation.
No problem.
But this is my petition to
I
our
hope you know we're not going anywhere in the
That's what I'm saying. A petition to, it would be a great idea to foster African unity.
Yeah.
For us to go to South Africa and present Breakfast Central live from South Africa.
It will be fantastic. And we have a correspondent there.
Bongani is Ziba from South Africa. We can have a very full show. So HR,
nice.
please
Then you
take
get to see the live band perform. They are artists. They come to there's a space at the waterfront where they perform. Yeah. So if you even get your food and you just want to chill, you just sit down there. It looks like a mini stadium.
Well, you really do know how to paint this picture.
Honestly, all I can think about, I don't know if I can focus for the rest of the
I came out from South Africa and I said, I don't know how anybody wants to do. If you love adventure, please put South Africa on your list. Yes.
So we'll talk
and
after
you too, Benga.
Yes, sure.
Omotoyasi Otemoye, Group Head of Quantum Holidays Nigeria. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much, Oli. Thank you so much, Benga.
Okay. The festivities are around the corner, and I know that this has painted a beautiful picture. Of course, you have to visit South Africa. But we're going to break now. When we come back, we're talking some more political stories. Stay with us. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. Let's now share with you an against all odds story. In Zabamari community, long marked by the scars of conflict in Borno State, a 15-year-old boy, Musa Abdullahi, is defying odds to pursue his dreams of becoming an engineer with little more than scraps of cardboard, glue, wood paint, and a restless imagination. Musa has constructed a replica of a model school following his visit to his elder brother in Maiduguri, symbolizing his deep desire for education and development in his community. News Central's Umaru Kirawa followed up with this story and brings up the story of the young African talent. Let's take a look.
Driven by passion for drawings and artworks, Musa Abdullahi, a young star from Zabarmari, a rice-producing community, made this model of a mega school in Maiduguri. The young boy made this artistic work in 2 days after his visit to his brother in the city. News Central embarked on a journey to Zabarmari community, where the youngster, Musa Abdullahi, grew up amidst the age-old conflict in Nigeria's northeast state of Borno, where over hundreds of farmers were recently murdered by terrorists. Growing up amidst the insecurity and hardship, Musa often watched as schools were closed and families displaced. Yet, he found comfort in drawing, sketching, and building replica of different structures, including the mega school and overhead bridge, among others.
Aikin da gwamna Zulum yake a Borno ina jin daɗin shi. Ina jin daɗin ayyukan da yake da su wani flyover wani abubuwa da yake ginawa, private makarantu da yake ginawa. Gaskiya abun yana burge ni. Shi yasa ni ma nake so in kwaikwayi irin wannan abu. Ina kera wannan abubuwa. Ina so in zama engineer, ina kera abubuwa da yawa ina so in yi.
Musa assists his brothers in smoking fish as their father is a renowned fisherman in Zabarmari.
Tun yana yaro ya tashi, to idan ya tashi ko irin lokacin da tabo sai irin wani gida haka na tabo, to kuma ya tashi zuwa nan gaba sun fara zuwa makaranta sai yana irin dokan sai yana irin drawing wani sa'in irin kuɗi ma haka zai iya zana ka ga exactly kuɗin ne sai dai kawai pencil ne da zai fita. Yanzu da man kokarin da muke yanzu ya koma makaranta yana dan lallabawa abinda Allah ya sa aka taimaka mun samu taimako daga shugabanni za mu bar shi ci gaba da makaranta saboda abin nashi gaskiya abu ne na ci gaba kawai rashin karfi ne da abubuwa na rayuwa kowa sai yanzu haraka sai da kuɗi kuma abubuwa ya zama sai a hankali shi yasa muke dan lallaba muna taya shi da addu'a Allah da ya kawo mafitan da ko da zai samu wanda zai ɗauki nauyin shi ya ci gaba.
2 out of the 5 children in Musa Abdullahi's family had to sacrifice their education for 3 of the brothers to attend school because of the financial implications. Musa believes education can change the narrative of all odds in his community as they recover from the ashes of the conflict. From Zabarmari for News Central, Omotoyasi.
Amazing report from our correspondent Omotoyasi. In an effort to ensure rural communities play an effective role in gender advocacy campaigns, a group of adolescent girls have taken the message against gender-based violence and discrimination beyond formal halls into markets and neighborhoods to challenge these vices. The awareness campaign, which is part of activities marking the FCT's International Day of the Girl Child, is organized by the Women's Rights Advancement and Protection Alternative in collaboration with She Limitless Foundation. News Central correspondent Edon Joseph reports.
At the heart of the Karo neighborhood in the Federal Capital Territory, this group of adolescent girls are leading the conversations and taking advocacy out of the formal settings into the markets, local meetings and social spaces to address issues that affect them the most.
That's what the thing they eat inside her mind. She not go know who to talk to.
Leveraging the power of every interaction, this group is determined to challenge violence, abuse, and the culture of silence in their communities.
I love when I talk to people about gender-based violence. I feel more excited for the girls that don't have courage to speak for themselves. Let them have some courage to speak. And for the parents, let them be making friends with their children.
Community members, including traditional figures, joined the engagement as they pledged to make the neighborhood safer and more responsive to the needs of women and girls, while calling for wider sensitization efforts of this kind.
It's actually a welcome idea, and I think this one is a laudable one, and I recommend that the government should also partner with this NGO to make sure that this program is being spread.
While addressing the menace requires the effort of the whole community, other advocates say that the need for continuous campaigns and the creation of informal channels for survivors to report cases is necessary. They also urged parents to be more attentive to the issues their young girls face.
Coming from our intervention in communities, we know that most people don't like to go to police station, most people don't want to go to those formal structures. So we are also here so that they can also begin to come up with their own indigenous solutions to some of this.
Sometimes children go through all these things and they are unable to express themselves to their parents, or they even try to, but the parents are busy. So we are calling on parents to take a pause and look at your child and really observe.
With this initiative helping to reshape perceptions and strengthen community accountability against violence, stakeholders believe that allowing young girls to be at the forefront of advocacy will play a vital role in preventing abuse and prompting equality. In Abuja for News Central, Edon Joseph.
With a staggering 78% of the votes, Professor Chukwuma Soludo.
Before we go into that, I just want to quickly chip in a comment on what we've just watched. The story about gender-based violence, and it really saddens my heart that young girls are the ones having to advocate for themselves, and we're having them advocate for themselves in 2025. We see gender-based violence express itself in many ways, from female genital mutilation, which surprisingly still occurs in parts around the continent, again in 2025, to sexual assault and the physical assault that, that is meted out on young girls and women. We see it happen to women's in the higher echelon, upper echelon of society. When we see what happened, for example, to the president of Mexico, a woman at that level, if a woman at that level could be groped in public by a random stranger, then how would you guarantee the safety and security of the average everyday woman? Yeah. So these are the conversations that we talk about when we say gender-based violence. Do not touch a woman if she hasn't given you the consent or the permission to touch her.
And kudos to Idong Joseph and the Abuja team for amplifying and also giving a voice to this. We'll go a quick break, and when we return, we'll be looking at one of our top stories today. We'll be examining the just concluded governorship elections in Anambra State, where Professor Charles Soludo emerged victorious. You stay with us. We'll be right back after this break.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. Now, after a period of chaos and violent killings, kidnappings for ransom, there seems to be a turnaround, and we see that thousands of displaced residents across Katsina State, such as communities such as Faskari, Damnusa, Tushima, Karfi, and Bichi, have signed a peace pact with bandits. The event, which is a step towards achieving peace by bringing the bandits to the negotiation table, is hoped to gradually return normalcy back to the affected communities. However, these have raised conflicting concerns among residents. News Central's Rukaya Jiba brings us this report.
For years, the communities of Katsina's frontline local government areas have lived under terror of bandits. Farmers have abandoned their farms and families displaced. Kidnapping for ransom remains a daily occurrence, and millions of naira paid to secure freedom for kidnapped victims. But now, normalcy is expected to return to these communities following a new peace agreement entered into with the bandits. Initially, the state government said it was not part of the agreement, that it was a community-based peace agreement. Later, the government admitted that it was ready to negotiate with the bandits. This is Merua in Faskari local government area, one of the many communities plunged into this persistent crisis.
Har ta kai da rana ma ake zuwa, har ta kai dai kusan dukkan mutane suka tashi, da yana jin ƙauyukan da suka tashi suna da yawa a ƙasar nan. Gaskiya a lokacin dare da rana akwai hari. Nan garin ma kusan ba ka iya fita, da ka fita garin nan ba ka kai daga cin gari zuwa yara can, ka ga can to gaskiya sai da ka ji an ɗauki mutum ko an harbi mutum.
Personal stories of abduction have become almost a daily experience.
Amma gaskiya ko ma'ina ban so ya je gurin nan, tsakanina ga Allah kawa duka ga kwanciya ba su a daure mana hannaye, da ta baya ake daure mana hannaye, daga nan za a daure mana kafafuwa. Idan suka kulle mu ba su ƙara kwanciya mu hashe wata yamma ta yi idan za su ba mu abinci. Tuwo suke ba mu, tuwon dawa ne, daga gishiri he kuka suke ba mu, dan ko magi gaskiya babu a ciki.
Wani lokaci muna zaune gindin masallaci sai aka ce mu ga barayi sun fito. So before mu tashi kawai sai muka ji harbi ta ko'ina, ba ta da mamu mun ga masu harbin ba, saboda wanda ya ce ma ya gan ɗaya daga cikinsu, saboda irin yanayin yadda aka rice mu a wurin ba mu iya tantance cewa ga wanda ya harbe mu saboda suna da yawa. So a bisa hanyar mu ta escaping suka yi man harbi guda biyu, ɗaya a nan hannu gashi nan, ɗaya kuma a cinyata.
The financial and psychological toll of this event has crippled these communities.
Ni na shiga hannunsu haso biyu. Na shiga hannunsu ɗauka na farko, wanda tun hawan bahari na farko an ɗauke ni, sai da aka yi miliyan 2.5 na gane gida. Na zo wannan tenuwar ta ƙarshe ta wannan masari, ita ma an ɗauke ni sai da aka yi miliyan 5.5 na gane gidana.
To understand this conflict, one must look back. For generations, the Hausa farming communities and the Fulani herders lived side by side peacefully. But climate change, population growth, and competition over dwindling fertile land and water resources gradually began to fuel tensions. However, what started as clashes over resources was brutally exploited by criminal elements. Grievances were weaponized, self-defense groups morphed into criminal gangs, retaliatory attacks spiraled into a full-blown crisis of banditry, leading to the killing of thousands, the destruction of properties, and millions displaced from their homes.
Bahilla ce da Bahaushe zaman lahiya aka zo aka hada mu hituna saboda mi bahilla ce yana da shanu muna noma muna zaman lahiya to an zo an hada mu hada ina noma ina kiwo mu da mu muke takama da shi arewa.
The government's response often involved military deployment, which provided temporary relief but failed to address the root causes. Previous amnesty programs collapsed, leaving communities skeptical of any new peace deal. This current agreement is being hailed by many. It was brokered locally. The government claimed the bandits reached out for the peace deal, while locals, out of exhaustion, are left with no option. There have been troubling reports indicating a shift in the bandits' activities. The bandits appear to have redirected their attacks toward the remaining communities that did not sign the peace agreement. Notably, the communities of Kankia and Cherenchi local government areas are now bearing the brunt of these renewed hostilities. But this very agreement is a source of deep anger and suspicion for others. For victims who have lost everything, the idea of negotiating with their tormentors feels like a betrayal. This skepticism is fueled by bold acts of provocation. The bandits' argument, as relayed by community leaders, is that they were victimized and should be allowed to reconcile locally. But without disarmament, the threat remains.
Ni a ɗan hasashe na a tunanina suna ganin kamar irin lokacin siyasa ya zo da sauransu za su yi amfani da wannan damar saboda su te su yi al'amuran siyasansu da sauransu ba tare da wani abin nan ba.
For now, the farms of Meruwa, Musa, Dutsenma, Kurfi, and Bichi are accessible again. The markets are open and normal daily life restored for many. With this peace agreement, the people are caught between the trauma of the past and an uncertain future. But whether the peace turns out to be a lasting one depends on whether their leaders can move beyond this agreement and build a peace that takes into account justice, disarmament, and genuine reconciliation for all. In Katsina, for News Central, Rukayya Jibiya.
With a staggering 78% of the votes, Professor Chukwuma Soludo has clinched a second-term victory as governor of Anambra State, sweeping 20 out of 21 local government areas. The incumbent governor, who contested on the platform of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, polled 422,664 votes to emerge the winner of the elections, with his closest rival, Prince Nicholas Ukachukwu of the All Progressive Congress, APC, scoring 99,445 votes to come second.
Paul Chukwuma, the candidate of the Young Progressives Party, YPP, secured 37,753 votes, while the Labour Party candidate, George Moralu, scored 10,576 votes. John Mosu, the candidate of the coalition backed by the African Democratic Congress, ADC, polled 8,208, and we will be doing a post-assessment of the exercise as we seek to find out if he truly won the election, or if he truly is the choice of the people in the way that we saw things being carried out, and if the elections met the expectations of the people in the state. Well, joining us for this discussion today is News Central's Head of Research and Digital News Editor, Abdullahi Ahmed. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
All right, so we're having a virtual guest join us in a moment, but let's start with you, Abdullahi. Yeah. Your assessment of Anambra's elections, and if you think that if this were to be a litmus for the analysis or the assessment of Joash Amupiton, how would you say he has fared?
Did Professor Joash Amupiton pass his litmus test?
Absolutely. I looked at a lot of things before, ahead of the election. About 11 days before the election, I projected 21% voter participation. And that what we saw was about that. That is one. Two, the messaging from all the political parties, you know, there was no bile in the messaging. They just campaigned on what they wanted to do. And so it was an impressive thing to look at from the angle of the participant itself. And then the electorate, we didn't hear of voter snatching, ballot snatching, we didn't hear of violence, we didn't hear of shootings and all that. However, there were issues around voter buying,
cash and carry,
which you cannot take out of elections because again,
I mean, it's an anomaly. We don't see these things in other democracies,
yes,
even in Africa.
It is the desperation of politicians that causes things like this. They tend to want to get it by all means, because they've not done their assignments well. On the other hand, you see how almost every voter, is saying positive things about the governor and their willingness to vote for the governor. So it was a good thing to see that he clinched, landslide, a clean sweep, without arguments, unlike the previous elections of 2021, where we had...
So you don't think any one of his opponents are going to court?
They could go to court, but there's no point because it is a clear victory. It is, it's apparent from across board that he won decisively.
You mentioned something very disturbing, 21%.
Right.
I mean, when they're doing the voter registration exercise, we get excited about, big numbers that INEC declares.
2.2,788,000
and we say,
Anambra
Nigerians are now becoming politically savvy and aware.
Yeah.
And then on election day, the situation is different. I mean, how can 21% of eligible voters return you as governor? Not even half. That's an indictment.
Yeah.
And this is not...
So we had a situation where we were having about 50 to 60% voter turnout since 1999. But the issues were that most times we had mass thumb printing, you had fictitious voting patterns. With time, there was a decline. When APGA took over, there was a decline in the number of voters. In fact, we used to have about, before Soludo came in, it was 16% voter turnout. When he came in with just 10% of the total number of registered voters. So this is like an improvement, because at that time there was a lot of, issues around insecurity from the IPOB messaging, disinformation. Even this time around, we didn't see a lot of disinformation from IPOB as we used to see online. The only thing that I did see was an issue around a message on Facebook saying that elections had held on Thursday, and there was a video to that, but it wasn't really an election, just some form of registration. So in essence, we would say that there's an improvement from what we had in the previous election. What I was slightly worried about is the deployment of security. Again, it is needed to ensure that the bad guys do not come out to play. But we cannot sustain that number of security deployment across the country. So we must look for ways.
We could afford this because it was a staggered election.
Yes. So an off-cycle election affords us to say, okay, all of our security agencies will be boots on the ground to ensure that elections hold, as it should be. But we must go beyond, I wouldn't say militarizing, but deploying too much security. Let people own, the process. Let them be agents, to ensure that there's a peaceful...
I mean, after all, it's a civil exercise.
Absolutely.
Let's see if our next guest agrees with the sentiment that you've shared. We're joined by a member of the Obedient Movement, Ikenna Azomchine. Ikenna, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us on the show. I don't know if to say congratulations to you and in the Anambra. We've seen the reports of the results. Our guest in the studio here thinks, that this was a fair test. Can you please turn down the volume of your TV set? Our guest in studio thinks that it was a fair test of Professor Joash Amupiton's tenure so far, a great start. But the Labour Party did not fare very well. Do you agree, however, that it was a democratic exercise for Anambra?
Expected a free and fair election, and that's what we got.
and those that prepared for the election got their results. So we as Obedience, we had earlier on said that the Labour Party candidate was not, it's not going to give us obediently what we need, and we made a decision to support the Soludo administration because of the competence and the credibility that we are told to emulate. So we give kudos to the governor for his victory.
Thank you, Mr. Azomchine. I would like to bring in the Director General of Anambra State APC Governorship Campaign Council, Dozie Okhidevbie Jr. Mr. Okhidevbie Jr., your candidate came a distant second in the elections. What's your general assessment of the governorship polls that took place on Saturday in Anambra State?
Thank you so much for having me this morning. My assessment of the election is that it was peaceful in many parts of the state, though we recorded some casualties. I believe that the INEC did a great job, and voting materials were there on time, and our party agents and the voting public came out to vote. However, we also noticed and recorded a lot of rascality by the ruling party of Anambra State, led by Governor Chukwuma Soludo, where they used a lot of intimidation on the supporters of APC and the agents of our party. So it was quite unfortunate, but we also recorded a lot of violence on the members of our party and our party agents during the elections. So right now we've collected most of our reports. We're going to meet later on this afternoon and analyze things, look at the reports and analyze things, and then report to the party to know on what would be the right step for us to take. So we have to report to the party, and then we take a decision. So we have to remember that it's not over until we finish exercising our franchise, which part of the option is whether we go to court or not. But I want to go to challenge the outcome.
I just want
to go to court to challenge some of the bad behavior of the Afghan government. So we are still considering all those options this morning.
Okay, I just want to clarify, Mr. Okhidevbie Jr., that your grouse with the election is not about the result, but about some of the actions, especially because your overall party leader, in this case being President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has congratulated the governor of Anambra State. So is your issue about are you challenging the winning of Governor Chukwuma Soludo, or you're just kicking against some of the anomalies that took place during the election?
Well, we have a lot of things to contend with. We have to look at the numbers that were posted by, at the end of the results, at the end of the election, and how the numbers came about. Yes, I understand and I agree that the president has congratulated the governor for winning the election. But also the president relies on us that's here in Anambra State to give him a clear report. The president congratulated Soludo on the declaration by the INEC. It is the INEC that declares the winner. And as the president of the country, he has to congratulate who the INEC has declared winner. But if we have enough grounds to challenge the outcome, I am sure, I'm very optimistic that the president will also support us. And if we decide to go to court and get judgment in our favor, the president will also congratulate our candidate. So it's, the process is not over. Announcing results is part of the process. But I believe that governorship elections end at the Supreme Court. So we are going to look at our options, study the reports, and then take a decision. And before we do anything, we will take our report to the president as the leader of our party. So that's where we are right now.
All right. I just also bring in Mr. Azomchine. I hear you when you say that, I heard when you said that you were sort of certain that Mr. Nicholas Ukachukwu Mr. George Mogalu wasn't going to bring you the numbers that you wanted. Was it the general agreement of all the obedience? Because there are people we did have a conversation on this show, and we saw that the obedience through their support behind Mr. George Moghalu. So what really happened that has affected the strength and the influence of the Labour Party in Anambra State?
What happened, as obedient general, I must tell you the facts. The obedience in Anambra are more in number in Abga. And there's no doubt about that argument. Our principal, His Excellency P2B, should have allowed the process to go organically like the obedient movement goes. Obedience are in all political parties. And we know, we the field obedience, we know that our cousins and nieces and relatives are all of Abga, but they voted for P2B. So I advised P2B earlier on in the year to stay away from Anambra election, endorsing a candidate that would be weak. And as soon as I saw that this candidate was weak, I went to the platforms. We have obedience. We operate with support groups. The support groups is the pillar of the obedient movement. P2B might be the symbol of the obedient movement, but the engine room of the obedient movement is we who are the generals. We saw that Moghalu would put shame to us, and we deviated, and we made it clear. What has happened in Anambra is the competence and the credibility that P2B had taught us is what we saw in the governor, and that was why we endorsed him. And we are not apologizing to anyone. Imagine that we had endorsed Moghalu, and he's giving us 1 vote in our polling units, then the obedient movement will be ironically dead. So I think anyone going to court, our advice the ruling party, APC, it will be effort in futility, because the governor has done well. The Anambrarians, some of them might not like the way he conducts himself, but in general, he's generally accepted.
Okay.
I'd like to go back to the APC, the campaign organization. There were lots of, given the assessment of the Anambra state elections, lots of civil society organization and observers did mention incidents of vote buying as of deep concern. Could you speak to this point, if you observed any incidents of vote buying, and if the ruling party in Anambra State is guilty of this, or are there any reported incidents of the ruling party perhaps winning as a result of voter inducement?
Place. I'm from Nnewi, not local government. So I was in Nnewi, not local government on election day. And we recorded hundreds of incidents of vote buying in my constituency. And that was quite unfortunate. And it just showed the desperation of the Anambra-led, APGA-led government in Anambra State. They came to the polling units with millions of naira, inducing, intimidating the process. What we prayed for and what we campaigned for was free, fair, credible election. And I'm not blaming the electoral umpire for the incidents of vote buying, because the electoral umpires were there at the polling booths, manning the polling booths. But around was a lot of inducement, and there's a lot of hunger in the land. And the governor knew it. He said it on his campaign trail that he was going to induce voters. He was going to induce voters with money, and he lived through to that. I was speaking with one of the leaders of his campaign last night, and it is estimated that he deployed maybe about 2.5 million naira per polling unit. So just do the arithmetic, 2,500 million naira per polling unit and 5,720 polling units across the state. That is humongous amount of money. He went broke, he opened the vault, and because he knew that the only way he was going to come back was through voter inducement. But the fact is that the 99,000 votes that APC got, we did not induce one person. It was not part of our template. No. We needed a free, credible process, and we have proven that APC is strong in Anambra State, that APC is on the ground, and that our agents were crying. The reports I'm getting from our agents, they were sad, crying. because they've never seen something like this before. It's not that it's not been seen. In the last Senate election, the governor did the same thing. That's just the number one thing on his playbook.
So, Mr. Okhidevbie Jr.
Go to the electorate and buy their conscience. And that's what we witnessed in Anambra State.
So, Mr. Okhidevbie Jr., I mean, looking ahead, 2027 is around the corner, looking at this weaponized poverty, because you said, you know, you admitted to the fact that there's a lot of hunger in the land. What can be done to reduce incidents of vote buying? Is it that enforcement is lax, or is something we'll just have to live with? Because it's no longer a democracy. It feels like an auction.
Opinion, the number one thing that needs to be done is that the players in the field, that is the candidates, must show responsibility. We cannot continue to show rascality and bad behavior and then still want to be given the mandate of the people to govern the people. You have to come up and just live above board. Election is not do or die. You have to respect the people. We in APC, we have clear respect for the people, and we say, let's go to the polls and let the people decide. Let the people come out and cast their ballot without any inducement. In my community, some critical stakeholders came to the polling unit and drove away APC agents, intimidated our agents and drove them away because they knew that they were losing the election. I've never seen anything like that before. We have to show responsibility. We have to show leadership. We have to commit ourselves and help to lead by example. We have to respect the people that we govern. The state receives a lot of allocation from the federal government. The huge allocation they get from the federal government should be used to empower the people and to build infrastructure, give scholarships, just take care of the people, protect lives and property. But what we saw is that the government of Anambra State stockpiled huge amount of money and then opened the vault on election day. It just shows clear sign of desperation, and I am ashamed at the behavior of my state government, governor. I've never seen anything like that before. Right. A professor stooping so low to come to induce voters in every community. And even in IMLM, where we have strong followership, a young girl who won an award. Apga Talks went and burnt her house down. That is not acceptable. So like I said, we are still collecting our report, and in due time, we will go and make our presentation to the president, make our presentation to the party, and we believe that when we make the presentation that our party will support us, and most likely the president will see with us.
Okay, let's
So it was a sad day. It was a sad day indeed in Anambra State.
All right, let's come back to the studio. Such strong allegations have been made against the governor of Anambra State and, the way in which the elections were carried out. Let's have Abdullahi speak to some of the things that you both have spoken about. Abdullahi.
Well, on what Chief Dozie had said, it is not impossible that some people could have been intimidated. But if you do not have footages, if you do not have video evidence of some of these things, it will be difficult to prove, and then nobody would listen to you, regardless of the fact that Charles Soludo has won the election. It is good to see what played out, around polling units, so that we can make out frameworks to ensure that we stop them. I did see from the video some of the allegations about vote buying. The identity of the person who is sharing the money is easy to tell.
Exactly.
Therefore, unless INEC prosecutes that person, we will assume that it is something you can do and get away with.
Normal.
So we should get to the point where people who buy votes, people who receive inducement from those selling, those trying to buy the votes, be penalized. That way, people will know that immediately when you are coming with money or inducement. In fact, somebody had said that
you can see the brazenness, and they even went there with a camera.
So someone even said some were being done using POS. How do you tell easily that someone had, bought votes with POS? Again, it's up to the security agencies to rely on the allegations and check and be sure that, you know, justice is done.
Okay, just before you continue with your thought process, and whenever we talk about inducement during elections, we always focus on the inducer, the person who's giving the giving, forgetting that our Electoral Act specifies it as a crime for both the person giving as well as the person receiving. But it doesn't seem that there is enough information about that out there, and people just feel like, I'm just collecting, I'll collect and I'll do what I have to do. Please go ahead.
So basically, if there is penalty for such actions, people will be mindful, they'll be wary, you know, when you come to voting processes. Also, I did hear the obedient movement person talk about they putting their weight behind Governor Charles Soludo. I didn't hear any of that. There was no press release to that effect. It's possible that the communication was to their members, which I will not be privy to, but I'm thinking Labour Party has done woeful, you know, considering what it was, you know, in the last election, the engagement. When we always talk about you having grassroots, you know, arrangement, you having the structure to prop people, election is not about one person. It's about the entire structure. It's about taking charge, taking control from those that you feel are not doing enough. So it starts from the words.
Maybe the crisis at the national level in Labour Party
it has impacted. It impacted the PDP. Who is the chairman of PDP? Who is the flag bearer of PDP? It impacted Labour Party. Who is the, you know, spokesperson? You know, so unless you have your house together, you will go to elections in the same way. I hope the opposition does not go to the 2027 election, you know, with discordant tones like this.
Okay.
Okay, we are fast coming to the end of the conversation, but, you know, just a final question to Mr. Dozie Okhidevbie Jr. and Mr. Ikenna Azomchine. I'll start with Mr. Ikenna Azomchine. What's next for the Labour Party?
I'm not a member of Labour Party. I'm the Obedient General.
Okay, what's next for the Obedience movement?
Like I've said, parties should field candidates that are solid, that are sellable. The ruling party fielded a candidate who is not popular. The same with Labour Party. I mean, Professor Chukwuma Soludo has done well the last 4 years, and he's way far better than all the other contestants. We Obedience, we look at the quality of individual. There's no sentiment, like the young man who was talking about not being aware of Obedient movement supporting Soludo. We attended Soludo's rallies and we endorsed him officially, except that the Tanko and Co were having discrepancies. But Tanko is from the north. We are Obedient from Anambra. We know who our choice, we know our preferred choice. And we took our decisions, and I congratulate the governor. He has done well. Vote buying was common. Even APC, there was vote buying on the side of the APC, which was visible. So they should just next time prepare a better candidate who can, you know, come with the force that is required to be able to make an impact.
Okay, just to clarify, you say you're not a member of the Labour Party, you're a member of the Obedience movement. Is the Obedience movement associated with any political party?
Obedient movement, we are all in different political parties, and there are more obedience in Afghan, and that was what called for our support for Chukwuma Soludo. Recall in 2023, more Afghan obedience voted for P2B, and it's time to pay them back. So we Obedience, we know the organogram of the Obedient movement more than anybody who is seated there in the studio. The Obedient General knows the Obedience who are in Afghan. We know the Obedience in APC. We know the Obedience in Labour. So the Obedience in Labour cannot claim that they are in the majority in Anambra. It's as good as when it's Enugu State. There are more Obedience in PDP in Enugu State. So our decision in Enugu State might not be the same as in Anambra. So obediently, we congratulate Professor Chukwuma Soludo for his victory.
All right. And the final words from Mr. Dozie Okhidevbie Jr. The next steps, I know you say the APC is going to gather its evidence about a lot of the anomalies that went on during the elections, and you present it to get the support from the president. But, you know, what would your thoughts be regarding the next steps for Anambra State as a whole?
The things that we have to do, like I said, one, we review things and then take a decision. Two, We have a grand plan where we've been building the base of the party, and the base of the party is very strong. And you have to understand that most of the people that man our polling units on volunteer basis, based on how we have been building the party from the ground up. So we have a strong party, and I'm very appreciative of the support that we've received from the people in the different communities. We are very appreciative of that. So we'll continue to build our party, and we'll continue to make sure that the conversation is on the table. We have to improve the process in our state. Anambra State is a big state, and we can't be known for voter rascality. We have to address some of these issues. We cannot go to the polls intimidating people, and thank God that the Agudé Chamber people did not come out on this election. So, and it was because of the conversations we held after the senatorial by-election. So we are going to continue to hold those conversations to make sure that our state continues to grow, because at the end of the day, no matter who is on the saddle, the person that's on the saddle is going to be the governor of Anambra State. And Anambra State must continue to attract investors and attract other people to come to our state. We have a beautiful state, but what we're saying is that the person on the saddle must show responsibility. And we're not going to give anybody, we should not give anybody the mandate of the people, and the person that has been given the mandate doesn't have respect for the people. I just feel, my opinion, that this current government does not have respect for Anambra voters. And it's very sad. So we'll continue the conversation.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central. We wish the Anambra all the best, and we look forward to ensuring that we speak about enabling democratic election processes in our country. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
And this, of course, is still Breakfast Central. We'll continue. Remember that it's time for us to be reviewing the front pages of the papers. We'll open the phone lines for you to join in on the conversations, and you can also go on YouTube, where we're streaming live, to drop your comments. We'll take your comments as well. Abdul Latif, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll go on a quick break, and when we come back, Breakfast Central continues. Please stay with us.
It is said that every man has a price. This past Saturday in Anambra, we saw that even democracy does too. Across polling units, observers reported cash handouts, food packs, and digital transfers. According to the Civil Society Situation Room, the poll was generally peaceful, but marred by vote buying and logistical lapses. Candidates alleged that voters sold their ballots for between 3,000 naira and 5,000 naira, a cheap price for something as sacred as a vote. And it's not an isolated case. The National Bureau of Statistics found that during the 2023 general elections, 22% of Nigerians admitted being offered money to vote, up from 17% in 2019. Let's stop pretending this isn't democracy. This is an auction, and the highest bidder takes the people's future home in a bag. When poverty becomes a political tool, the poor stop choosing their leaders, they start renting them. Those who buy votes don't owe the people, they owe their investors. As one candidate in Saturday's election said, if there's no seller, there can be no buyer. Some people have chosen to sell their conscience, and that's even worse than those buying votes. Yet, the law is unambiguous about this. The Electoral Act 2022 criminalizes giving money or gift to influence any voter, punishable by fines or imprisonment. But in Nigeria, laws are often recited, not enforced. Arrests are rare, convictions rarer still. Vote buying thrives because poverty has been weaponized. In a country where millions live on less than 2,000 naira a day, a 5,000 naira handout feels like hope. But it's not help, it's bondage. The moment a citizen sells their vote, they sell their right to complain for the next 4 years. And the danger is staring us in the face as we approach 2027. If nothing changes, elections will no longer be contests of ideas, the contest of cash. Accountability will disappear. Reforms without deep pockets will never stand a chance, and public office will be nothing more than a business venture where investment must be recovered with interest. So, what must we do? First, ensure that we enforce the law. No excuses, no sacred cows. Second, fight poverty, expand social protection so no one is forced to trade dignity for dinner. Third, educate voters that a stolen vote today becomes 4 wasted years tomorrow. Because democracy doesn't die when soldiers take over. It dies when citizens sell it to the highest bidder. Will we protect the ballot or auction our destinies? Good morning, Nigerians.
Conversation is whether or not we'll protect the ballot or sell our destinies. When
Some are even selling it for malt and a sausage brand, a famous one.
If you are selling this, will you not sell it for something expensive? No, we don't endorse selling it, please. Yeah. Anyway, let's get into the papers. This morning we have joining us public affairs analyst, Theophilus Akatugba. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
So you are bringing
Thanks for joining us.
So that I will come in with the
uniform. We are grinning with envy. Yes, great minds think alike.
Let's get into the papers. I'm sure that the front page has an Anambra election because that's how I would like to start. But let's begin first with the front page of the Punch newspaper. And on the front page of the Punch, PDP crisis, 3,000 delegates set for high-stakes convention. Remember that the PDP convention is scheduled to hold in 5 days. So we get to see what the next steps are for the PDP with the court order and counter-court order. Makinde, Wike camps trade blows as delegates gear up for convention. Federal government vows tighter security after UK flags northern state unsafe. 15 girls rescued from Ondo sex trafficking network. Aregbeshola's backing can't save Adeleke, says APC chieftain. Genocide. PFN, Islamic Council in verbal crossfire. Crude oil revenue plunges by 43%. Drugs, Regina Nwoko in fresh bitter showdown. Soludo's Anambra win sparks political storm. Let's start with PDP drama. What's your expectation for this convention?
Well, I have lowered my expectation, and everybody who follow PDP should know that it's a party currently bedeviled by all kinds of internal worms. The organs of the PDP has been seized, by its own created enemies. And everywhere they turn, they are met with one challenge or the other. Because the very people that are even going to plan the convention, you don't even know their motives. And so everything is quite murky. We just heard now that Damagun has also been given a letter by the INEC. It means that INEC recognizes Damagun. Others say they have suspended him. He says he has suspended another faction. So my hope is that they're able to hold this convention so that they can put something together that looks like a semblance of a party. The performance in Anambra State, show and reaffirm the declining, fortunes of the PDP and the rapid, demise of the party, even though I predicted it in 2015, when Goodluck Jonathan lost the election. That was when I said PDP died and the funeral was going to be for a very long time.
And I was still looking at the PDP. I mean, if they manage to pull off this convention, since they will be filling elective positions within the party structure, do you think they would have been able to exercise their demons? That's if they cross that bridge of convention, if it does happen.
Well, as I told you, PDP has these demons internally. They are not external. Some of them might even be contesting for these positions. You see, a party that was ruled by the man that holds the biggest purse, that is the expression of the Nigerian democratic environment. PDP launched us into democracy in 1999, and the culture of money power in politics is still what we're suffering from till today. the PDP gave us the culture, the democratic culture we're experiencing today, because they are the party that ruled this country for 16 years. If anything you want to uproot, if you want to bring a culture in place, somebody has to start it, entrench it, and promote it. But it was never promoted. Those who participated in the election in Nigeria, ever since 1999, youth corpers and all of them, they tell you that what they experience shows that Nigerian election is a bazaar, a trade. And so there is nobody who can pretend in this country that we are where we are because something just happened recently. This is something that we have continued to promote from election to election. They say Yar'Adua said his own election was flawed. What of Obasanjo's election? If Yar'Adua accepted his own, did Obasanjo accept it? Because Yar'Adua accepted, does it make it, was there a difference? All the reforms, every year we call for reforms. Have you reformed the citizens? You are reforming laws every day. And whenever we make laws in this country, we think that laws itself enforce. Any law you make has a cost of enforcement. Do you have the resources for it? Can you really stop vote buying if in a national election, if 1 million people are buying vote at the same time? What resources do you have?
Okay, let's...
You can advise them not to. You use word of mouth.
You have advised. You've told the voter. The voter doesn't even have the resources to hear your advice. It's not even in
the stomach.
It's not even. No, it's not where you can speak to him. It's not involved in your communication gateway. Have we communicated? Do we have channels of communication in our society enough to reach the common man? Is it part of the communication gateway? Does he know what's going on?
Okay, let's take another paper and take some other stories. I'm trying to see how we can...
Before we go to the other paper, I want us to quickly look at, since we're talking about PDP, Aregbesol's backing can't save Adeleke. So the former governor, Rauf Aregbesola, is now backing the PDP, the incumbent governor, for a second term. But the APC is saying, look, this, if you like, combine forces together, it's not going to save you. What do you make of the politics in Osun State? And knowing that Governor Adeleke has also expressly endorsed the current president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in 2027. Will that save him?
Yeah, no, it's not safe. Adeleke is going to have a second term. Aregbesola is trying to be relevant. He already knows that there's nothing he can do about that. He doesn't have any platform to either support, whether he gives support or not. The support,
I mean, he's a former governor.
That is.
Minister.
He's actually not a very loved governor.
Why?
He's not. He has his own support base, but generally speaking, his tenure was not very positive for Osun State. From the report, the debt, the salary structure, the kind of salary that were paid, and the way the poverty rates that the state was plunged into.
But he gave the students
he's not that kind of candidate whose support will immediately inure to the benefit of Adeleke. Adeleke knows where his biggest support comes from, so that the central power and might is played down, just like it has happened in Anambra State. Anambra State is an example of alliance, because APC, the president, is in alliance with Soludo. So the candidate who took part in that election should show that APC has made the inroad and taken the slice of the PDP in the state.
All right.
That's what has happened.
I want us to switch conversations to Anambra State. We'll take in the next paper, but let's take this call that will kickstart the Anambra conversations. We have Chris Adam calling from Anambra. Good morning, Chris Adam. Thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chris.
Chris, we're struggling to hear you. Please go ahead.
All right. Talking about the just concluded Anambra election, I actually happens to be an observer. Okay, I happened to be an observer during the election on Saturday, and I must commend the INEC for the good job they did in Anambra State. The materials actually got to the various polling units early, and that's when due. But one thing we must fight against in this country is about the issue of the citizens being ready to sell their votes. This was one of the things we actually observed during the last election in Anambra. It's very, very bad. How do you expect the country to get better if the citizens are everly ready to sell out their votes?
Go ahead, we can hear you. Okay, unfortunately, we've lost that
Now,
call.
sorry, quick one. When they're selling their votes, how do the sellers, the person that's selling the vote, how does he ensure that, this person is going to vote for my candidate?
Well, or you just
believe? Because it's not option A4, it's a closed ballot system.
There is a leader, there is an influencer that is the negotiator of the vote selling. His followers are ready to take something from him. In the political structure, the political people, the food soldiers, they are only food soldiers because of money in their pocket.
So how do you ensure compliance?
They don't sell any message.
I can collect money and vote for, since it's a closed ballot.
It is, we have agreed to deliver this person. So they just bring the money, share it, and they go vote according to that agreement before the election. See, we don't campaign enough in Nigeria.
Or they don't have that consciousness
Our
to
campaigns
know
are
that
dancing exercises,
musical
show of
festival.
strength that we are popular, pretending that we are campaigning. If you campaign, if the campaign is based on issues and the people you are even campaigning to hear the message, a lot of the people whose votes are bought don't even know who the candidate is. They don't know what the candidate promised to do. Illiteracy and democracy, they are not friends. Illiteracy and democracy.
Or maybe there's a sense of hopelessness. That is what, all of you are the same.
Can I tell you something? When you say the word, first of all, the person doesn't even know who you people are. He doesn't even know why his condition is like that. Doesn't know whether it was the election he did that brought you in. He felt you already in anyway. You only gave him a gift to have come to vote. To him, you gave him malt, you gave him gala for the stress to come to vote. 500 naira to transport back. So he was happy that he went for an exercise. There are no political meetings where people are not giving money to go back. Okay. So the man who is even in the politics is not there because he has an agenda. He's there because it pays. It paved the way for opportunity.
Cash and carry.
So Nigeria should be realistic. That's why I said, when you have democracy in a place where there's poverty and illiteracy, you have to lower your expectation. Otherwise, if you keep fighting, struggling to make you look like you can be like Britain and America with that level of education. Even Zimbabwe, they are more educated than Nigerians.
Okay, let's quickly take a call from Uche. Uche is calling from Abia. Good morning, Uche. Thank you very much for calling. Please go ahead and share your thoughts.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You see, what we are discussing here, for me, is about our institution. How can our institution work? For instance, before the election, the governor was going around talking about the highest votes that he will gain from any constituency or from local government, the kind of money they are going to receive. Our institution just keep aloof. That is my problem. The institution is not working. For instance, INEC will, set up a rule that will guide the election. The court will look the other way when they did not even do what? Hold their rules or continue with the rules that they have made regards to election. When will our institution work in this country? That is my question. When we watch the clips, we saw different police and both military and the other. How many police officers they sent to Anambra? About 40-something. Is it for something thousand or something thousand thereabouts? But they were looking. Are you telling me that they don't see where they were, transacting money? That is the problem. How can the institution work in this country? God bless you people.
Thank you very much for that. Let's quickly move to the Guardian newspaper on the front page and see the story. Soludo triumphs in Anambra as ADC observers decry vote buying. Anambra 2025, you can see the numbers he won with 422,644 votes, followed by Prince Nicholas Ukachukwu, 99,445, and then we can see 37,753. Bear in mind that there were 2,788,000 registered voters in Anambra State. So
there's also Labour Party in fourth place with 10,000
This election
votes.
continue to show one thing. The turnout is so abysmal, it's so low, even though it's better than previous, meaning that it has been very, very bad. If you have this type of turnout in an election, what it tells me, easily is the fact that the voter is not mobilized. Number two, then the voter does not exist.
Mobilized in what sense?
Not mobilized, because the election was not contested. Soludo won the election because he was the only person that presented himself and spoke to the people about re-election. The other party didn't have the resources to match him in terms of campaign and voter motivation. You can see that this election was not contested. I can't even find powerful images of the other parties speaking deliberately, repeatedly, like Soludo did. Soludo was the governor, but he was more present, he was more in the media, he was more in the local government, he was the one speaking about paying people, rewarding wards who turned out more voters, because he understood that the voter is not communicated to. Our media has not reached the people. We don't have media channels that speak to our citizens. That is a big problem. We are not supporting media enough in this country to be strong. People don't invest in the media. Today we're spending money on YouTube and Facebook that is not a Nigerian media platform. And people are priding themselves that we spend money more on digital media. Okay. If you don't do something about your media, you can't mobilize your people. Or what are the local channels to reach people? This is the problem. 2,700,000, two things. Either the Igbo voter is an economic migrant that you can't guarantee before the next election half of the people you registered have traveled to one state or the other to seek economic fortunes. And so you have a bloated register, but actual voters on ground not available.
Okay, I just want to take a comment from YouTube. I mean, you say we don't... there is a media that's connected to the people. We on News Central, we connect to the people.
No, the grassroots that doesn't even know what YouTube is.
Okay, anyway, I want to read from YouTube.
The grass of the grassroots.
Annie Chinedu Brown says, the Abgas victory is a misleading facade and mere window dressing in preparation for rigging defenses in 2027. Adeleke will still emerge victorious in Osun State. By 2027, anyone who dares to complain about the election will be reminded that opposition parties won the previous election. Do you agree?
Okay, yes, because of what will happen in 2027. If the situation you saw in Anambra will continue, then how will you defeat the ruling party? You have the resources to buy the vote when the voter is now preparing to sell the vote. You see, we have a long way to go. It's for me, Obasanjo came out the other day and said, democracy has not helped Africa. He's saying that after he has already enjoyed the dividends of the democracy.
For 8 years.
You understand? So my own take is, we must continue to work hard, to do what we must do, to speak to the Nigerian citizen, because he's at the core of all reforms. If you don't get his heart, you have nobody. All your laws are to be enforced by the Nigerian. They are to be observed by the Nigerian. If the Nigerian is a seller of his authority, a seller of his power, the policeman sells his power. Look at the moment you sell a policeman to where downfall bosses are, he sells himself to them and he becomes a useless man in their midst. He no longer has any authority. So trading authority and power, voter power is traded. So I commend INEC.
Uche mentioned something.
When they say INEC about Anambra, I am not quick to commend the new head of INEC. Because he just came into office and this election has been planned over the years.
So this is still credit.
So this is credit
to the former INEC
yes,
chairman.
I believe so. But we must test him better in future elections when he's in charge.
Uche mentioned something, the caller that called him from Abia State, and he said institutions that were witnessing this because of a breakdown in institutions and lack of enforcement. Of course, Nigeria is not a lawless country. The Electoral Act clearly states that vote buying is illegal. And he also mentioned over 40,000 police personnel were deployed there to look. Why don't people arrest these guys that are
one of the
inducing?
Things
the EFCC made a few arrests here and there, but it's significant.
It's very, sometimes the Nigerian police force faces a challenge during election because they don't want to be seen that their action led to violence. So they do a lot of, they manage the process. I've seen...
They use non-kinetic means.
Yes, they try to, because they are not armed, A lot of them are not armed. They are just there to show that the police is there to witness, because they even have a place they will sign in the whatever the collation sheet. What I want to say is that to say you sell 44,000 to Anambra is actually ridiculous and absolutely, it shows also that the elections in Nigeria are not safe. Why would you send 44,000? So when you want to conduct election in Nigeria, nationwide, how many policemen will you send? We need to now deliberately begin to reduce this particular aspect of our election where the police comes in with numbers.
Maybe we don't trust ourselves to conduct ourselves in a civilized and proper manner.
Absolutely. And that has to do with the quality of your citizens. Because you need to keep doing less policemen so that the people will begin to see that, look, the elections are safer now. If 44 were able to get this safety, it means the next election will be 55, 66,000. And how many policemen do we have in Nigeria? Less than 500,000. And you send almost how many percentage of that to one election? As if it was a war zone.
21 local governments.
No.
Yeah.
I think that aspect can continue to send wrong signals to local and international observers.
We need to improve the quality of the Nigerian.
Okay, absolutely. Let's talk about local and international airways. Let's move to the Daily Independent. The big story says, sky-high fares in Nigeria blamed on expanding web of federal government levies. Recall that last week we talked about the $11 tariff that will be implemented from ridiculous. The 1st of December for international flights inward and outbound. UK warns its citizens against travel to Borno, Yobe, Adamawa, and others. Anambra gubernatorial elections, Serap gives INEC 7 days to report vote buying sponsors to EFCC, ICPC, and police. No work, no pay rule can't deter workers from strike, according to NASU. Federal government okays 3 new policies to boost civil service productivity. NSCIA urges Christians to reject external efforts to destabilize Nigeria. ADC accuses INEC security agencies of complicity in Anambra vote buying scandal. And at the top, Anambra gubernatorial poll, best ever by INEC, says re-elected Soludo. Of course, he will say that. Re-election testament to visionary leadership, according to President Tinubu, hails Amupiton for credible poll. Intel may face challenges despite relaunch promises and fresh investment. So let's talk about the sky-high fares.
Airfares? Yeah.
They say that they're adding an 11%
security levy.
Yeah,
the $11.50.
In relation to international fares, the fares in Nigeria, I don't think they are too expensive.
No, they are one of the highest. I did research.
No, okay.
According to IATA,
within the Nigerian system.
No, number 3 in Africa. Because last week it was the focus of my Which Way Nigeria, and I did quite some research. It's one of the highest it's top 3 in Africa, one of the highest in the world.
Okay.
And the burden of security, according to IATA, the global aviation, should be on the
airline.
Yeah, no, on the coast country to take care of their security, not a levy or additional levy on passengers.
Okay, now let me take it from this point. I said that when I look at how much it costs to fly to Abuja, if IATA says Nigeria is number 3, what about Ghana? Where's Ghana? Ghana is number 2, because Ghana fares are higher than Nigeria. So I do not...
They're higher, is it nationally or internationally?
Both local and international.
Why?
And then the percentage of tax in our tickets.
Okay, that's what you're talking
huge,
about. I'm
yes.
talking about it.
You know why I did not agree with that? Yeah. Because there was a time where people had discovered a hack where if you wanted to go to London, I wanted to get cheaper flights, you go to Cotonou, you go to Ghana. People stopped traveling from, not really stopped, but more people started finding ways to go to Ghana and fly out.
That was when the dollar, was it when dollar was the requirement to buy the tickets? Because of the airlines that were not able to repatriate their money. Tickets were very prohibitive in Nigeria.
It's possible.
But if you say today, the average flights from Ghana, Accra to Kumasi or to Tamale is priced higher than the Nigerian fare from here to Delta or Abuja.
Yeah, but so beyond the Ghana comparison, that's why it's
because I want to know
that's why it's even headline news.
Where's Ghana?
That's why it's headline news on Daily Independent.
Yeah.
It's people are complaining.
No, naturally our price. See, every time I look at issues in Nigeria, I said we underpay ourselves for whatever we do. Our services are the lowest price services in the world. It means an average Nigerian don't receive adequate compensation for his effort across board, everywhere. And we've done this for so many years because of subsidy. Subsidy gave us a false hope that we're able to get by. There was a take-home pay. As soon as subsidies been removed, the dollar, naira, and the dollar has been naira has been floated. Everybody's now paying actual prices, and salaries are not adjusting as fast. So in relation to what we earn, our airfares can be described as very high. But when we look at it against the fact that $100 is 150, 140,000 naira. Airfares abroad, you might not even get $100 fare for a distance, the same distance. Even a train ticket is more than $100.
Oh, no. I mean, you even have low-cost airlines.
In Germany,
you have
I spent
low-cost
114 for a fast-moving train
you have low-cost airlines.
Yes, from Berlin
international
to Munich.
Okay,
even international flights are very cheap.
Let's not go too far. I bought a £50 or a £40 ticket from London to Scotland, and even at that, they were saying to me that if I had booked a little earlier, I would have been able to see $20, £20, which is like 80K.
So what's the price for Abuja?
From Lagos to Abuja is more.
It's 200,000.
No, it's more actually. If you're doing a ticket, you're looking at, say, give or take, maybe like 100,000, 100 something. More, exactly. The average. I booked a ticket recently to Delta State from Lagos.
Well,
it was
over
100,000.
The air prices has to also do with the volume of travel. If you look at those people are fully booked most times. They don't fly empty. Here in Nigeria, sometimes not all the flights are full. So we have so many.
Okay, let's talk about this.
Why is it that the travel between African countries is so expensive? Because you hardly find the flight full between here and.
So we agree that there's also the issues of the African continental.
How about this self-inflicted $11.50?
This is a new one that I just
from the 1st of December.
Many argue that they want to leverage the inflow that will come in from 30 December as a way for them to raise revenue.
Okay.
And it looks like
citizens
always have to bear the cost.
Anti-tourism. If you are doing that, you're going to discourage people. So I agree with you. If there's a new tax that's coming in at this time,
$11.50, effective from 1st of December.
And you know the funny thing,
it's called the Additional Advanced Passenger Information System.
That should not even be at
That's the responsibility.
I agree with Ayata in respect of this particular tax.
Because $11, someone coming in, they will complain. Yes, they will complain. But maybe they might argue that it's $11, I can wing it. Compare that to Naira for someone who's leaving Nigeria. Paying that amount in Naira.
In addition to
the already very expensive ticket. And this is not to say that...
They say security again means that you are trying to tell the people that there's a challenge and I have to pay $11 for my own security. So I think we must be careful if you want to build your develop tourism and promote tourism. This tax is ill-timed. It's not good. I think it should be withdrawn. Because 30 December is around the corner, people are preparing to come to Nigeria. This is not the time to burden them.
The Minister of Tourism over the weekend said they should make a presidential task.
But I'd like to do a little more work on what you said about the prices of Nigerian tickets. I believe that I have always thought that where we are not, airlines have come. You see, this is the only country where we have the fastest rate of decline of demise of airlines. Airlines have collapsed in this country more than any other country. They come in, they close down because it's not been profitable.
Well, I mean, there's also the role that the government has to play in ensuring that they make it profitable for them and in the kind of policies that will be implemented in such a way that will allow them be able to take their money back. So it's a business. They're not coming to do charity. They want to make profit. So the Nigerian citizens should and must be prioritized in a number of these policies. Adding extra $11 is not profitable for those coming into the country, and it's not profitable for Nigerians leaving the country.
It discourages travel. It will reduce. What 30 December just became something, symbolic or very recognized last year. We can't just in the second year begin to put shackles and more difficulties in the way of progress.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right, we have come to the end of today's show. Thank you so much for joining us, to our virtual audience, to the physical guests who have joined us in studio. Thank you, Mr. Katigba, for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Hopefully the next time that we come in with you or you come into the studio, the government will have heard about these complaints and withdrawn that extra $11.
Yes.
It's not welcome. Nigerians don't like it. It feels like it's tax upon tax upon tax, and the citizens don't always have to bear the brunt. And this is how we wrap up the show. We'll be back again same time tomorrow. I am Olive Emodi.
Is that all?
That's all.
No, I really can't believe you. And I'm being Boro. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.